Hi, Darren.
Hi, Robin.
And welcome to our viewers here. Darren and I are on the comfortable place on the couch.
This is the actual couch.
This is the couch. We've recorded podcasts it's been coming up on 2 years now that we've been doing podcasting. We haven't tried something on video before, so we're going to try that for the first time. I think I have a face made for radio, but ha ha ha, that's a good old joke. But we thought we'd give this a try, recording a video from the comfortable place on the couch, which is our Midnight Oil podcast. But lately we've also been doing Growing Up 80s, and that's what this one's intended for. So this afternoon, Darren sent me a text message asking me about the C64 Mini. What was your question? Something?
Do I need a C64 Mini? Why do you think it would be a good thing for me to have? In the day, I had 64s. I currently have a DTV, a Commodore. Is it called?
Yeah, C64 DTV.
I can get emulators on my computers if I want to. Why do I need, or do I need, a C64 Mini?
Darren, you don't need a C64 Mini.
Whew. Did you hear that? I don't need another thing.
But you might want one still. I'm being overly literal here. Mm-hmm. You don't need any of your video games, Darren.
I don't need them. That's right. Why might I want one? What would be an advantage to having a C64 Mini, perhaps, over doing emulation?
C64 Mini, as I see it, the one main advantage is if you have a modern HDMI TV and you want to play C64 games on it with no fuss, no hassle, then C64 Mini is a good solution for that. You buy the C64 Mini, you hook it up with an HDMI port, you plug in the joystick and power, and you're ready to go. And you can just play it. A C64 DTV, which was from about 2004, 2005, was the same kind of thing, but it only had composite output. Just the yellow and white cables.
Yep, not even the white and red stereo.
Yeah, it didn't even have stereo.
It needs stereo.
Wow, that's right. The C64 only output mono, so I guess that's why. That's fine, but they've become pretty difficult to find.
Okay. Yes, they have. I spent 15 minutes looking for mine prior to this podcast, and it's in the basement somewhere.
Well, I guess I meant to buy a new one, but yes. DTV also only outputs composite video, as I was saying, no HDMI. And that's becoming more of a problem on modern TVs where you just want HDMI hookups. There are other solutions. Of course, if you're already happy with your emulator, if you got a real C64 and you're happy with it, that's fine. If you have an emulator on your computer and you're happy with it, that's fine. Some people are even buying like a RetroPie or a Pi setup, and they're going through the process of installing the emulators, the operating system. That's fine. If you're happy with it, then that's good.
Yeah.
So the C64 Mini is for people who don't want to go through that hassle of acquiring the parts and the setup time. For some people, that's a lot of the fun, is setting it up, and that's fine. The C64 Mini is ready to go, and with a new firmware update that just came out, you can put a bunch of D64 disk image files for the Commodore on a USB stick, put it in, and browse through them and launch the games. That's become really easy now, too.
So basically, if I want to play some curated classic Commodore 64 video games, it's easy to go down to the store, pick it up, plug it into the TV, and go. And if I feel like acquiring other games, I can get them. I can put them on with minimal fuss.
Yeah, it's not a lot of trouble at all. It's as easy as downloading a file from the internet, saving it onto a USB memory stick, and then putting it in the computer. When
I put it in the computer, does it stay in the computer, or every time I want to play a different game, do I have to do the USB stick thing?
Now, with this new update, with the file launcher, you can put a whole bunch of D64s on one USB memory stick and then go through and select them. Just
have it plugged in.
Just leave it plugged in. The C64 Mini comes with 64 games included, and they're good games.
Yep.
It's not a list of everybody's favorite games. I think every one of the games on there, at least almost all of them, scored 80 or 90% plus in magazines of the day. Zap 64. Somebody went through and compiled a list of averages, like all the scores for it. And the average was well above 80% for that batch of games. So they are an objectively good batch of games. It's not going to have everybody's favorites on it, but you can add that on the memory stick.
I want to fiddle around in BASIC, and I remember writing programs back in the day. I want to try doing that kind of stuff. Am I able to do that on the C64 Mini?
Now, the C64 Mini's keyboard isn't functional, unfortunately. I believe it's just too expensive to make a working keyboard at this price point. It's such a small keyboard.
How big is this thing?
Well, you know what? I have.
We prepared one earlier. Oh, right on.
I've got one. Actually, I don't only have one. Have
you opened this one even?
I have two. Yeah, this is the European release, and I got one of these early at launch. And then just a few days ago, I picked up this Canadian release. That's why it's got the Je.
Oh, this is Canadian. This isn't even just North America. This is Canadian.
I think this is the Canadian release because in the States they don't have the L'ordinateur personnel le plus. Do your best French for us there.
L'ordinateur personnel le plus vendu au monde, René.
Wow, René. Very nice. In Canada, the C64 Mini is available at Shoppers Drug Mart and Walmart and Best Buy.
I want to open a box. Is there...
Yeah.
This one opened?
Why don't you open that one? That's the new one.
I'm trying to see...
How about I hold it? I'll hold it up for you and you...
Shake it. Shake it up. There we go. Good.
It's actually a really nice box.
Oh, yeah, that is nice.
If you even notice, if you remember, these blue and white stripes are reminiscent of the original launch box.
Yep.
Quite nice packaging.
And this is a nice other little box in here too.
Yeah. Yes. If you open it up, there it is.
Cute.
Isn't it cute?
It is cute. I was thinking that it was going to be a little bit bigger. It is mini.
It is mini. So.
Can I pop it out?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
it's light, but it doesn't feel totally without substance.
Yes.
Look at that.
Yeah.
It is small.
So if you see, you can see why they didn't really bother making the keyboard usable, because I guess I could get one finger.
You would need a special dialing wand.
Yeah.
Or a typing wand.
Yes. Yeah, that's kind of a power reset switch. There's two USB ports, and that HDMI, of course, for the video out, and the power in that's micro USB.
It is pretty cute.
And this is the joystick that's included, which uses one USB port.
Oh, yeah. And it looks pretty similar to the DTV.
It's the Competition Pro style.
It feels nicer, though, than the DTV.
Yeah, this one does. So the joysticks...
Oh, yeah, this is nice and crisp and clean. It's not totally like there's play in it.
Yeah, the joysticks come under some criticism. I haven't played with my new North American release one yet, but it seems to me that the joysticks improved over the European release. It does feel better. It feels tighter. Now, there's been reports of some of these joysticks breaking. Mine hasn't broken, and I played it a fair bit.
How long's the cable?
I think it's like 2
meters.
It's almost 2 meters. And we're talking about the keyboard. So the keyboard isn't usable. You can program the C64 Mini in BASIC, but you have to plug in an external USB keyboard, which a lot of people would have.
Sure.
Or you can pick up for very cheap nowadays. And then that, then you can program BASIC.
And would you be able to save to the USB stick?
Yeah, that's right. You can save to the USB stick if you have one. I believe it only saves to a certain file called something like the C64-Drive 8 or something. Okay. The instructions are online for it.
You don't mean that you can just save one file, though?
You can only save one D64 worth.
So one disk
image. Yeah, one disk image, and then you would have to rename that file. You'd have to plug into your PC or some device, rename the file. BASIC can only access that one D64 currently anyway. I should clarify as well, I said that to program in BASIC you would have to plug a USB keyboard in. It's not entirely true. There's a virtual keyboard built into this that you can bring up with the joystick. It would be extremely tedious, but you can move move the cursor around and choose what letter you want, and you could type in a basic program using the joystick, the virtual keyboard. But I wouldn't recommend it. I've typed in that famous little 10 print program with it, and that was enough. that was enough of that.
Now, what about the hardware hackers? What if somebody says, you know what? I can just go down to Shoppers Drug Mart for $99. I've got the guts of a Commodore 64. I'll just take it apart and use it to build my own Commodore 64 that I can do stuff with. Is that possible?
Sort of. There's a guy on YouTube, we can put a link in, who managed to stick one of these inside a real C64 case and make it basically work. So the real C64 keyboard was was running this. Yes, you can. I'm not sure you can do everything that you'd want to. Yeah.
And it's probably cheaper / easier just to acquire a real Commodore 64.
Yeah, you might want to get a real C64, or there are these alternatives nowadays, like the Ultimate 64, which is a whole new motherboard that replicates the C64. And I don't know a whole lot about that, but I know you can put it into a real C64 case. And I believe it takes real SID chips, the sound chip from the 64.
You had a significant amount to do with the C64 DTV project.
Yeah, I was the lead programmer on the software side. Jerry Ellsworth famously designed the hardware. And then they also needed a software team to put together the ROM for it. Yeah, that was back in 2004, 2005. The menu system, the modified operating system to load from that ROM, and then compiled the 64, well, it wasn't 64 games, 30 games on the C64 DTV.
Plus bonuses.
Plus some bonus games. We had some Easter eggs in there.
Did you have anything to do with this thing?
I did. I'm not an employee at all, but I did do a bit of contract work on the C64 Mini. There's a Hall of Fame. It's a listing of all the backers for the original project. There was an Indiegogo campaign for this, and actually it was for a full-size C64, which they haven't produced yet, but they still plan on doing it. Anyway, they needed to honor all their backers, so me and my partner at Pixel Games, Sam Washburn, and I coded this. He did the vertical scroller, a horizontal scroller, and then there's a basic listing version too. I did that middle part.
Yeah, with all the backer names.
Yeah, all the backer names. That's cool. Sorry, that's what it is. Yeah,
cool.
It's all the names of everybody. And then a number of the games for the C64 Mini had to be modified slightly to make them play nice because there isn't a real keyboard included. This is just one example. The game Cybernoid would use the numeric keys. When you're playing Cybernoid on a real, like a full-size C64, you're pressing the number keys like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to choose your weapon. When you're playing on this joystick, there aren't that many spare buttons to choose your weapon. So that became a problem. And making the user bring up the virtual keyboard to choose weapons in the middle of a game just wasn't suiting it. So I reverse engineered, disassembled the game, found the part of code that lets you choose the weapons, that reads the keyboard, and added a toggle in so that your last two weapons, I think it's weapons 4 and 5, toggle, and weapons 6 and 7. So you press these buttons basically so all the weapons are available in Cybernoid 1, Cybernoid 2. Other things like that, like some of the games, Everybody's a Wally, defaulted to keyboard controls, I think, or at least the menu. You start the game and it says, do you want to play joystick or keyboard? And that's really tedious. So I got rid of that. Those sort of things. The company behind this, Retro Games Limited, because of my connections with C64 DTV, they contacted me again and asked if I wanted to do a bit of work on this. So I did. I'm not getting anything for talking to you about this. I'm a fan of it as well, and I bought this North American release of it. It's the other one. This one I bought with my own real money, just as a fan.
So it sounds like, for me, I could see it being useful for being able to introduce my boys to some of my favorite old games, make it easy for them to play on their own without having to clickety-clack.
That's right, yeah. They get an easy menu. instead of having to learn the load command, load star.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
load
that it'd be
quote star.
difficult, but it's
No, that's-
just really easy. Just
Yeah,
I'm playing games.
that's right. I've done the same with my kids. They've played with the C64 Mini now, and it's easier. On the full-size C64 that they want to produce and that they've done this campaign for.
Do we know is that going to be just like a full-size version of the Mini, like pre-packed with games, it just happens to have a keyboard? Or is it basically going to be a Commodore 64, just like in the olden days?
Yeah, I don't know more than just what's being speculated about on the internet. It will be full-size, maybe a slightly different form factor. I don't know if they'll go for a one-to-one match to the original 64, but we'll have a fully working keyboard on it.
HDMI, USB, that kind of stuff?
That's right. It should have HDMI and USB. I think we hope it has a compact flash slot on it that will act as a disk drive. Yeah. And whether or not they'll make it work with cartridge, I don't actually know exactly what's being promised to the backers. I hope I get to work on it, but I don't know that I will. I didn't have anything to do with making the case or the board or the front end system, the menu system. That was all done by the people in-house. And my only contribution was basically delivering C64 programs that would work on a real C64 or modifying them, but they still would work on a real C64. I'm pretty excited to see what that full-size computer could be. Will it be a more affordable and accessible? The C64 Ultimate, I think, is fairly expensive. And you still have to supply your own case. You still have to do some electronics. Not necessarily soldering, but you do have to build the machine yourself. This full-size, the C64, should allow somebody to just plug and play, buy it in a nice box, take it out, hook it up HDMI, you're ready to go.
Very nice.
Yeah. I wouldn't hold out too, I don't know when that's coming.
Well, and from what we can tell, at least here in little old Thunder Bay, these things are selling like hotcakes. Hotcakes.
But me and my dad went shopping looking for a C64 Mini on Senior's Day.
Yeah.
Every Thursday at Shoppers Drug Mart, Senior's Day, 20% off. Dad and I went looking for a 64, and it was like 1984 all over again, except we're not quite the same as we were in 1984. Things have changed. That was fun hunting. We didn't find it the first Thursday. The second Thursday, we went to the Shoppers Drug Mart nearest my dad's place that he goes, he's a senior citizen. He goes to the drugstore multiple times a week. Yeah. We went there and they were sold out. They had the C64 tag and they had the security devices that the black, that they wrap around the box. We're just kind of strewn there. I asked the merchandiser, who was 20-year-old. She came out and said, "Oh, they all sold out already." She said she wished she had gotten one. So we went to another Shoppers Drug Mart, and no sign of them there. But I asked around, and eventually somebody said, "Oh, we might have one of those in the back or whatever." In this cupboard, they opened up, and they pulled out one that hadn't gone on the shelf yet. So I got that one for 20% off.
So that should be your dad's.
Yeah, it is Dad's. My dad wanted to play it, but then he found out it didn't have Monty Plays Scrabble installed, and then his interest waned quite a bit. Yeah, that was Dad's #1 game. I don't know if you remember that.
I do remember.
Yeah, my dad actually has C64 set up through the 80s, through the 90s, until he finally bought a Windows computer, and he was playing Monty Plays Scrabble on his C64, and it would take about 20 minutes on the highest level to choose the next word
for Monty to make
his play, the AI. So actually it was pretty good. He would just enter his name and then go wander off and do a chore or something and then come back, and that was retired life. So Darren, did you have any other questions about the C64 Mini? Do you think you would get one, or what do you think you're going to do? What's the verdict?
I don't think I'm going to get one.
Oh no! What a wasted video. Thanks a lot. I want my half hour back.
Okay. Ask me again.
So Darren, you think you're going to get one?
No.
No.
One more time.
So, Darren, can I give you this one?
No, I couldn't take that from you.
You're right.
I'm still on the fence.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have this. It'd be nice to have one of these things just to plug it in and fool around.
Are you thinking about an alternative?
I'm thinking that I actually want to do some programming again this winter. Last winter, I kind of picked up a little project that I worked on over the winter months, and I enjoyed myself, and I was thinking, I'd like to program a Commodore 64 game. You know, I started so many games in my youth and finished very, very
Darren finished cliff diving.
Ones. Yeah, I did.
Cliff diving, and if you have a C64 DTV and go into the secret Easter egg menu, you'll find his game Cliff Diving on there.
I probably did it like... I'd like to say I did it in a day. I probably did it in a weekend or something like that. Yeah. So yeah, I'm thinking that I'd like to do a project on the 64 this winter, but it doesn't seem like this is the route to go.
It would be okay on here. You would be able to save your program. Are you thinking about coding a basic game, or do you want?
I might want to do a little bit of machine code.
Yeah, if you take on assembly, okay. Because actually, you can make hybrid games if you have a Windows computer or can run Windows.
I can.
There's an IDE, I think it's called PRG Studio. Look in the comments, not in the comments, look in the...
Oh yeah, right down there in the
description. Look in the description down there. But it is Windows only, which of course we both use Macs a lot of the time, but you can run some Windows programs. Yeah,
sure.
That is a good environment for coding a hybrid game, a mix of assembly language and basic.
Yeah. And
it's a nice IDE. On the Mac, I don't think there's anything quite as nice. But you know, you got emulators.
Yeah.
There are assemblers. You can code in C. So that's possible.
Some options.
Anyway, you can totally make a C64 game on a Mac.
Yeah.
Or on Windows, and then you would just probably want to test on the real thing before you released it if you got it done. But emulators nowadays are so good, you don't really have to have a 64 or a Mini to make a game now. So I'm interested in this game.
Yeah.
You have any ideas?
I've got some ideas, yeah.
You want to share a top one or no, nothing at all? Ooh.
No, not right now. Yeah,
secret game.
No, it's not for the sake of being secret. I just don't want to commit to anything.
No, of course not.
This is just my
my
fun little winter project for
myself. I bet for all those cliff diving fans out there, Cliff Diving 2. Eh?
No. Oh. It's not going to be that either.
Definitely not Cliff Diving 2.
No, that's not where I think I'm heading.
Yeah?
That's not where my interest is right now.
Oh, roguelike.
I did a roguelike last year.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of doing a...
but not for the 64.
If not a racing game, a type of driving simulator.
Oh, driving simulator. In 3D?
Thinking about it.
Wow, that's ambitious.
I know it is. I know it. That's why I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I know
So, like, name your favorite driving simulator for the 64. Existing game?
I think we've talked about this before on one of the podcasts.
Have we?
Yes.
Okay, remind me then. Pit Stop 2?
Nope.
Do I have to guess?
Guess one more time.
Buggy Boy.
No. Great American Cross Country Road Race.
Oh, yeah.
Now, do you remember me telling you about how I spent a lot of time doing a Great Canadian Cross Country Road Race on the Commodore 64? That's the... And it's gone. And it wasn't complete, but it was functional. You could do stuff in it. And it's gone.
Wow.
I want to do that.
So you are thinking about bringing that one back.
That's what I'm thinking of.
That would be cool. The Great Canadian Cross-Country Road Race. I want to play that.
The campaign edition.
Yeah.
There'd be campaigns you could do in it. I've got too many big ideas. I've whittled it down to the core. Let's do these 4 things.
Yeah. So you will have to drive through Nipigon.
Yes, although I don't imagine it will be stated as such.
You will have to drive through Thunder Bay then.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you going to put your house in it, like when you drive by?
No.
Oh. It's too bad.
I'm waving as you
Darren's house. Yeah.
I've got all sorts of ideas for things that I'd like to do with it, but just keep it simple.
So you might find this too tedious, but it would be fun to get together while you're making that game. And, you know, I know a thing or two.
I know you know a thing or two.
And it'd be kind of fun to talk about as you're
be prepared.
trying to make this game. Yeah.
You will be talking to me about stuff.
It'd be fun if we could do it with, if anybody wants to listen along.
Yeah.
Let us know.
You think? I don't know.
People might be interested in that. Well, I'm interested in that.
That's because you're my friend.
I like new C64 games.
Well, we'll talk about it.
Okay. That's good. All right, so this is the C64 Mini where I totally failed to convince Darren that he wanted one. But I wanted one enough to go buy it.
Yeah, I want to go buy it, but I don't know that that would be the most wise use of my...
Of your tax dollars.
That's right. You know what I've always wanted to say, Robin?
No.
You should click in this card up here right now.
Okay.
Right here.
And where will it send them?
I don't know. Maybe to... Can we send them to other videos that are on this channel?
Sure.
The other video that's on this channel?
Yeah, check out the one other video we have.
It's right there.
That's awesome. Okay, for Darren Folds, I'm Robin Harbron. Thanks for tuning in to Growing Up 80s, the C64 Mini
video
that we talked about this thing. Talked about some stuff. There's boxes on my face up there on the screen. Oh,
it recognizes you as a person.
It sees I'm a person. Only when you smile does it recognize that you're a person. There. Your mouth is gone. You are not a person. It's lost in your beard. But like, I'm always a person.
Is this like after the video, or is this still...
Well, I'm not sure.
Are we still on YouTube right now?
We're talking... I don't know. Yeah. Okay, bye. Well, we'll see how terrible that is.
Are we still on YouTube?
Are we still on YouTube?